Bill Wilson, co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, talking on the Singleness of Purpose, 1957.
Now we're running into what we call the dual purpose groups. And we're running into this question of what we're going to do with people who have related problems. I've got a hell of a queer sex problem, let's say, or we got a divorce problem, or we got a narcotics problem, or we got a gambling problem, or we're too fat, or we're nervous, we got a neurotic problem. Well, around in AA, we got people with all those problems. I guess I got all of them myself. However, I am a drunk and you're a drunk. So the primary basis of my identification as you is the hell of a time I had drinking and the wonderful time I've had getting over, which has involved, however, with dealing with some of these underlying problems which we already had. So now, as you know, there have been a great many sort of offshoots or copies of AA, some faithful facsimiles, some not so much so. We have Neurotics Anonymous and Gamblers Anonymous and Addicts Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous and Divorcees Anonymous. And we have some organizations that deal with mental cases like Recovery Incorporated and We Are Not Alone Society. And some of these people begin to do very well, and they're borrowing from them. Now, some of our members go over to these other people to help them and to be helped. And that is fine. But now, again, comes the old problem that we had with the clubs, with the families, with the education. Now we want to be married. So, let's say I'm a narcotic addict as well as an alcoholic. Well, we got around in AA, a lot of people have had trouble not only with pills, but with morphine. I mean, a genuine addict. They identified with us, they joined us because they were also alcoholics. But naturally, having had the addiction problem too, they know the awful agony of that. They want to carry this message to the pure, straight addict. So, in some cases, they've tried to bring those people to AA meetings and bring them into full membership. Well, right away, the wheels begin to grind, because are we going to take on all of the world's problems, and can anybody with a problem join AA? No, we decided long ago AA was for a drunk. No matter what complications the drunk has and how many other problems, we don't care anything about that. The only thing we want to know is, are you drunk if you want to get over it? And we'll stick to that. But now comes the guy with the pure narcotic problem, and he comes to an AA group, and he says, well, I want to belong. Well, under group autonomy, this group can really do about as it likes. You can say to them, well, we only deal with alcoholics here. Or you can say to them, well, look, you can come and sit in an open meeting, and maybe you'll find a few friends around who've also had the narcotic problem, who can help you start a narcotics group. Or maybe we're going to put you up on the platform and let you give a narcotic testimony, and we're going to put you on the committee, and we're going to take you right in. Well, this last mentioned course just doesn't work very well. Because if a straight narcotic, let us say, is to become an AA member, he has to be capable of doing AA 12-step work. He has to be capable of doing AA committee work, and he has to be capable of making an AA pitch from a platform, and how the hell can he if he's a narcotic? He can't. So that it is my hope that where there are good-sized open meetings, that AA members who themselves have had a narcotic experience and wish to work with narcotics should certainly be permitted to bring these people in as visitors to get the pitch, with the idea that they may be able to start their own groups. But I don't see how we can go any further with that. And the group is the last word on the subject, though. The group can do what it likes. Now then the question comes, if you've got in an institution, let's say, you've got a peculiar condition where they can't have but one meeting a week, the AA group, and here are a lot of narcotic people, And here are people with just a plain crime problem and other problems, and they see these drunks getting so much better emotionally, and say, how do you do it? And you go to the warden, and maybe the group goes to the warden and says, well, can't these other people come to our meeting? Or can't they have separate meetings, and can't we help them out? The warden says, no, you can't have separate meetings, you just have one of these meetings a week. And it would be great if you'd have these people in. Or, I'm telling you, I'm putting them there. So, okay. So in comes the guy with the sex problem, with the narcotic problem, with the burglary problem, or whatever it is, and he sits down with the AA group in the meeting. Well, I say, what of it? The only thing that group mustn't do is to say, we're the AA neurotic group, or we are the AA burglary group, see? If that group is going to be listed in the directory as an AA group, these other people have got to be visited. Then when they go out, there isn't any guarantee that you're going to receive a guy who was just a plain yegg that never drank any grog. Maybe he would be received as an open meeting, maybe not. I don't know. I think that's up to each group. Now you see, there are these borderline cases which are not matters of shifting the AA tradition around. It's just a reasonable application, and again, it's this middle course. You can take the course, will have nothing to do with anything whatever but a drunk. A pure drunk. Well, in the first place, there ain't any pure drunk. But all these things are able to drunk. Or you can take the attitude, AA is going to save the world, let's bring them all in. Now, how do you apply the AA tradition of the single purpose of AA and the no endorsement idea of AA and the group autonomy idea of AA? If you take those three traditions, you can work out fair applications, which will make what we know available to these other situations of groups, and at the same time not get us married and compromised, which might ruin us. Because I think that it is a fundamental, running all through government and through all forms of society, that your first function is to preserve your own entity. Let us first preserve Alcoholics Anonymous. Then next, let us, as individuals, do what we can for the world around us. I said.
How does accounting help businesses? Businesses need cash to operate. They need cash to pay salaries, buy inventory, and make large purchases, sometimes called capital purchases, like equipment in order to run their business. Businesses get cash primarily from two sources. The first source are banks. In accounting, we call them creditors. And in finance, this is known as debt financing. The second source is investors. You can think of the stock market as investors because stockholders are investors of large corporations. But an owner of a small business is also an investor of the small business. In finance, this is known as equity financing. So how do investors and creditors decide who to invest or lend money to? This is where accounting comes into the picture. Accounting records the financial transactions of a business and communicates this information to potential investors and creditors. The output of the accounting process are the financial statements. An income statement reports a business's profitability. A statement of the change of equity reports the changes in the owner's equity. A balance sheet details the economic resources of a business and the claims on those resources. Finally, a statement of cash flows summarizes the cash inflows and outflows for various business activities. Businesses with good financial statements tend to get the money. Businesses with poor financial statements often do not. This is because cash, again sometimes called capital in finance, is a scarce resource. Investors and creditors do not have an unlimited supply of cash, so they have to choose who gets it and who does not. This concept is called capital rationing. But that creates a dilemma for investors and creditors. How do they know that the accounting from one company to the next is done correctly and with the same procedures and guidelines? The accounting profession has a list of accounting standards that must be followed to ensure that all similar transactions are accounted for the same way. These standards are known as generally accepted accounting principles and will heretofore be known as GAAP. So GAAP are the accounting rules that tell us how to account for specific transactions. GAAP is the foundation of financial accounting. In the United States, the Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, requires all companies whose stock is traded on an open market, like a stock market, to prepare their financial statements in accordance to GAAP. Failure to do so would cause the company to go out of business and could possibly lead to accounting fraud. So all companies comply with this requirement. The SEC has deferred the creation of GAAP to a private, non-government organization known as the Financial Accounting Standards Board, or FASB. Although this is an oversimplification, you can think of it as the FASB creates GAAP for U.S. companies. For the rest of the world, there are different accounting principles and guidelines. The most common set of international accounting standards are known as International Financial Reporting Standards, or IFRS or IFRS. IFRS is created by the International Accounting Standards Board, or the IASB. So to summarize, in the U.S., the FASB creates GAAP, and internationally, the IASB creates IFRS. So why is this international stuff important, besides the obvious reason that we live in a global economy? The SEC wants GAAP and IFRS to merge or converge into one set of standards worldwide. This process has been incredibly slow and began in 2002, but it does continue. And that concludes this brief review of the purpose of financial accounting.